Aloha, this is Kaylani with the Wild Wahine. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. So we have a full packed week with so many interesting things. So let's jump right in. I want to say that I will be doing a full video as part of my All About series on Taurus. That will be popping up on YouTube and on Instagram on Wednesday. So make sure you look out for that. We will be talking a little bit about Taurus season in this video, but that's a whole video that will just talk all about it and everything. So then you can have that information for yourself and share it with your Taurus friends, anybody that has their sun, moon, or rising in Taurus, or really any other planets. So let's start off with the sun ingressing into the sign of Taurus. So that happened today on the 19th. That's going to be happening all the way until May 19th. So Taurus is the bull. It's a feminine sign. It's a fixed sign. So it's focused, powerful, that it moves slow, it takes its time, it loves to like luxuriate, it loves the sensual qualities about things. So it's all about savoring the moments, essentially, savoring life, savoring the time spent with people. It likes material things. So you often find wherever Taurus is in your chart, whatever planets are there, they're bringing abundance to you, bringing luck. It's talking about the material things. It's also talking about the body. Taurus rules the throat. So the throat is all about how you communicate, the sound of your voice, how influential, beautiful words that are coming out of your mouth, the sound of your voice, singers, all of those things. That all has to do with Taurus. It is a fixed sign, as I said before, so that means that it is kind of bit stubborn. So it is a long distance runner. It is going to take the long way. It's going to think first. It's going to act second, and then once it acts, you can't move it. You can't stop what's moving. It's the juggernaut from the X-Men. It's just, you just get out of the way. Now we have Mercury also moving into the sign of Taurus today, and it's going to be there until May 2nd. So with Mercury in Taurus, Mercury is how we communicate. It's how we spend money, how we kind of sell and buy things. So it's the exchange of information, it's the exchange of money, it's the exchange of ideas. It's all about the mind too, and how you think and how you're able to grasp concepts, how fast you grasp the concepts, and how you're able to apply the concepts. So Mercury feels very grounded in an earth sign. Mercury is usually like blah, 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 going all over the place, thinking about this, switching to this and switching to that. So Taurus is very stabilizing for Mercury. Mercury finally makes some decisions, and Taurus says, okay, great, let's stick the landing, let's do it, let's get it done, let's see it through to completion. Like I said, all of the things that have to do with a beautiful voice, people who speak, and when they say things, it's just like awakens something within you, or when you hear their voice, they're so recognizable. So Barbara Streisand has a Mercury, a Sun and a Mercury, actually, that's in Taurus. Stevie Wonder, another lyrical genius. Biggie Smalls, another amazing rapper. Both of them are pretty much at the top game in terms of like the poetry that they have with their music, and their sound and their voices are instantaneously recognizable, and there's just this flow that comes with it that's deeply rooted, in the heart. Shakespeare also apparently was a Taurus. I'm not sure all the details of it. They say that his sun sign is a Taurus, and that makes so much sense if you have studied Shakespeare or acted Shakespeare, or if you're classically trained like I am. It's amazing. When you speak his words, you actually are transformed. You can feel them. They're meaty, so it's saying things that are powerful, saying things that are transformative, things that are coming from the heart, things that build structure. Malcolm X is another person who had his sun and his Mercury in Taurus, and just being able to like say things that convince people. It's amazing to watch Malcolm X in a debate. If you go to YouTube, you can see some of his debates. He just cleans the floor with everybody, really. And in a very witty and a very smart and a very hyper articulate, but also very tangible way. A lot of storytelling. I love word. Like, I'm a huge wordsmith, and I love words, and I love people who use words well. I'm like, oh yes, all of these words and these people using them. So I love stuff like that. With that, we also have people saying their truth in a non-bullshit way, in a very specific, like, hey, this is how I feel, this is what's going on, this is what we're doing. There's not a whole lot of, you know, extra chatter about it. You're really kind of sort of taking your time, you're thinking about things, and you're expressing what you feel, maybe without the zingers and without the stingers. And you care that what you say lands, and you care that it's actually bringing people together, and you're kind of like collecting people and bringing them together. Mars goes into Cancer on the 23rd of April, and it is there for a while. So Mars in Cancer is going to be kind of that womp 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 part of the video a little bit, just because Mars is in its fall. Mars is in its fall when it's in Cancer. We're really just thinking archetypally of the warrior, the soldier who like has been battling and like in the trenches and watching his loved ones die and expire in front of him and living every day as if it almost is his last. And then he comes home from the war and he has severe PTSD, and the normal things of everyday life, like, oh honey, can you do the dishes, or can you take the kids out for a bike ride? And it's just like, I can't function in the everyday because I've been dealing with such extreme situations, you know? And so what does the warrior do when suddenly he no longer has to fight? And then there's so much depression that can come from that, and so much like passive aggressive anger. And that's kind of the feel of Mars when it's in Cancer. It's just like, I know how to do this job, but my job is kind of aggression and separating and like speaking up and fighting. And how do I do that in this like Cancer, which is essentially home? It is the mother. It is a soft space. It is supposed to be the place of safety, even though I know many of us come from homes that were not and are not. But typically speaking, from an archetypal perspective, that's what it's supposed to be. What does that mean? What does it mean to have this figure in the feminine space? It can be kind of overprotective, mama bear type of energy, protecting your group. Your group can be your family, your group can be your people, it can be your ethnicity, your group can be your race, it can be like whatever, however you group yourselves. It's all about protecting that. So we can see, and we can see a lot of that, especially like on the large, you know, wanting to create groups and separate yourselves, separating yourself, but creating like a small family or community, you know? So there is separation from the larger group, but you have all of these little groups around. So we may also see that. Super sensitive, super offended right now. Deeply intuitive though, because Cancer is a deeply, deeply intuitive sign. So using your instinct and your intuition can be a lethal, it's like almost like predator type of energy. Very Maleficent. I know I like to use movies and stuff, but that kind of quality that she has is a very dangerous quality, but she's also an amazing mother. You have that kind of quality, a very Machiavellian type of energy too, where it's thinking and it's plotting. You're not able to really have the outward aggression that Mars does when it's in Aries. So it's more about thinking about slowly how to destroy and dismantle. It's the witch, it's poisoning of the apple. So you're processing all of your information through instinct and feeling. And this can result in having big knee-jerk reactions that are coming from just a place of hurt. It can be moody. There can be a lot of control freak type of energy that's associated with it. Cancer does represent the family. So family disputes, family dysfunction, domestic violence type stuff. If you're in that type of situation, I do suggest that you definitely go get some help and get some support, because no one deserves at all to be injured in any way, whether that be verbally, whether that be financially, whether that be physically. So if you do find yourself in those situations, please get some support locally or reach out to your friends. This does have like a heavier energy. Our active energy is going to feel a bit more muted in how we kind of relate to that. What can it be good for? Well, it can be good if we want to separate from things that are negative for us, especially things that are smothering to us, things that are smothering for our personal growth. So sometimes they actually use a term in magic called cord cutting. Cord cutting is something that Mars in Cancer does. Like, let me cut the cord. Let me cut the cord that connects me to this person, to this toxic relationship, to the toxic relationship with my mother, to the toxic relationship with my father, the toxic relationship with my friends, the toxic relationship with this ex-lover, or whatever the situation that you might be in. So it's a really good time to say, nope, I'm cleaning house and I'm not going to be dealing with that. I'm separating from this family. I'm separating from this cult. I'm separating from this religion. That I'm separating for whatever that thing is, that you have so much dependency on, because it's a place of home for you, but it's deeply unhealthy. Some of the things that may come up during this time on the macro level have to do with like women's women's right to choose, having situations that can be like unsafe, or spaces that should feel safe and having unsafety in those spaces. So just be careful when you're going out. And, there's been quite a bit of, active shooter type violence that has been happening really this whole time. And so with this particular signature, that is something that, is well within that range. So we just want to be very aware of our surroundings and the situations. And if someone looks off, or if someone says they're off, I would believe them at this time. We might also see things that have to do with like body modifications to like typically female areas that have to do with like beauty modifications, possibly the stomach, possibly the breast, any of those type of things. It's like kind of Mars and Cancer things to like, do whatever kind of modification that you want to do to yourself, so that you get whatever kind of body it is that you want. Those are things that we could see, or new technology potentially coming out with that, especially since Venus is conjunct Uranus, which we're about to talk about. But I was going to say, if you're going to do any kind of modification to your body, please do it after Venus is conjunct Uranus. We just don't want to do it during that time, because Uranus is just all about the upheaval and kind of this switch around. Like, unless you want to just kind of sort of rock, paper, scissor it and you don't know what you want to get, like that's what would happen. I would wait till things are a little bit more stable, especially with Venus. Get her out of Pluto, get her out of the conjunction with Uranus, get her out of squaring Saturn. Like, we just don't want, these relationships with malefic planets. We want her in a stable condition, and then I would do things. However, you're going to feel, because Venus is conjunct Uranus, which happens on the 22nd, you're going to feel like you want something new. You're going to feel like you want a new haircut. You want to shave yourself bald. You want to like have blue hair. You want to get a tattoo on your face or your back or wherever it is. You just want to do something funky and new and just get out and do something. With Venus conjunct Uranus, it could be wanting to bring people together, but in a different way, using technology, using like AI, there could be just new interesting things that happen with that. Some of the challenges with that, with Venus conjunct Uranus, is that like Venus wants to keep everything together and keep things balanced and keep things like happy, where Uranus kind of wants to upset all of that and wants to switch things up and get them different. It's a foundational shaker. It's an earthquake, essentially. So whatever it is that you thought you stacked up in a certain way, it shifts all of those things. New relationships. Suddenly you realize something in your relationship that you never realized before, and suddenly it ends a relationship, or it shifts you up a notch. Uranus is neither bad nor good. It just means that whatever once was, it's going to be a little different after Uranus plays around with it. So it just throws you kind of a monkey wrench to just kind of sort of keep you on your feet. Venus now then squares Saturn on the 24th. After you've gone through this shift, then it's about creating a new structure, creating a new foundation, how you're going to do that. It could be about like, finding new relationships. It could be about finding a new way of working in your relationship, because Venus square Saturn tends to be very difficult on relationships. And especially since we're coming out of this new moon where we had, Venus squaring Pluto, there is kind of this energy that needs to shift in some of your relationships, whether that be interpersonal, business, or whatever. There's something that needs to have like a little bit of a push that needs to look different, that you're working on, something that might be a little bit more long term. It could be working with a partner, so starting a business with a partner, relationships that are difficult, the way that we're relating to each other. Since it's Venus, it's how society relates to each other. It could do with a case. We have the Floyd case is coming up. That's something that we don't know what the verdict is going to be, at least as I made this video. So, depending upon that, how are those things going to happen? Venus, a lot of times, especially with this Mars energy that's going to be happening later on in the week, we oftentimes find Mars, it's in Cancer, it's defending people who otherwise are not able to defend themselves, defending people who are weaker or who are put in a weakened position and fighting for them, being a defensive fighter. With Mercury now conjunct Uranus, it's perfecting on the 23rd. We have our minds and our words and all of our communication and how we're possibly selling things or saying things. That is going to be kind of sort of turned upside down too. So we have the same thing happening that was happening with Venus. We have this alternating of energy. So things are turned on its head, and then you're creating a new structure. So a new way of communicating, a new way of looking at things, using tech to communicate in a new way, maybe a new social media brand per se, a new challenge to free speech, or challenge to the status quo, how we're communicating with each other, building some sort of network or community with each other, problem solving through communication. So sometimes with Mercury conjunct Uranus, you have a destabilization based on new information that comes up. So something interesting came out, something that just destabilizes something, somebody said something and it shifted the whole conversation. And now that the conversation is shifted, now how are you going to stabilize? Well, you're going to stabilize with that Mercury squaring Saturn, which is perfecting on the 25th. Now that we've upended the way that we communicate, the way that we share, the way that we give money back and forth, the way that we're doing business, now we're going to create some structure around that. We're going to maybe create some new laws, put together a plan. We're going to get through the difficult thing together. We're going to try to create structure. We're going to be detailed. It's going to take a long time. Some of the challenges with Mercury square Saturn, though, can be just a difficult time communicating, not being able to communicate as effectively, because with Saturn kind of in the cold Aquarian energy, it definitely can be difficult to kind of sort of change your ideas or come to an agreement, because you have these two, energies. One is like, I want to say what I want to say, but I want it to stay in this structure. And the other one's like, well, I want to change things a little bit, but I also want to create a new structure. And how do you do that? Unstoppable force meets immovable object. And I feel like that is so prevalent, especially in our politics. It could also look like having an inflexible mind and not being able to see the other side, not wanting to see the other side, a my way or highway kind of attitude. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you got something out of this video that you can take with you, that you can use so you can make amazing choices for yourself, because that's what we want to do. And even if we make kind of sucky choices, that's okay, because we learn that we made it. We hear the feedback, we learn that we made it, and we make better choices next time, because that's all we really can do. So make sure you follow me on YouTube. My channel's name is The Wild Wahine. I'm here on Instagram at _wild_wahine. You can find me at Facebook and also on Twitter. If you guys have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. Make sure you tag people if this is helpful. Watch out for my video about the sun being in Taurus. And if you have any questions and you would like to have a birth chart reading done, a consultation where we talk about the time you were born and where the planets were and what's happening right now and how they can support you and what you can look out for, or if you're interested in having a tarot reading or an oracle card reading that just really gives you a beautiful insight into what's going on in your life, make sure you contact me at www.thewildwahine.as.me. So thank you again. Have a beautiful week.